We were talking earlier today about the whole Ray Rice thing, and it got a little heated, talking about how it really seems that if their penalty was a 2-game suspension, and then all of a sudden...
Back in February.
All of a sudden... Well, no, that was the league penalty.
Right.
Like, that's what the league handed out because that's what was customary.
And when did they hand that out?
That came out... Man, I don't know.
But it was after it, right? Not long after
probably
it
like
happened,
July,
right?
June or July.
Okay.
He got a 2-game suspension. So then we're talking about how, like, the media yesterday, everything was all about. Some people came across as kind of disingenuous. I thought there were some fake talking heads.
Were these more sports
types,
guys? Okay.
Who I really didn't believe that they cared anything about this. And the Ravens fired him, and everyone fired him, and everyone was saying how worried they are for his wife.
Right.
Like, why did she marry him? Obviously, she is so afraid that she had to go from fiance to wife, and horrible, and she should get all the alimony that she would have been paid if they had been married. She should get half of all the stuff. So she just
This is all the video that was released yesterday of Ray Rice knocking out his then fiance.
Right. She just came out with a statement on Instagram.
Okay.
Let's
hear it.
Man, this is really going to make people angry. Like, I think. Okay, so here it is. This is Janae Rice on her Instagram.
This morning?
This morning. The Baltimore Sun has confirmed that it's her.
Okay.
Okay, so now TMZ is reporting it. She says, I woke up this morning feeling like I had a horrible nightmare, feeling like I'm mourning the death of my closest friend, but to have to accept the fact that it's really a nightmare in itself. And she says, no one knows the pain that the media and unwanted options from the public has caused my family. She probably means opinions there.
Yeah.
To make us relive a moment in our lives that we regret every day is a horrible thing. To take something away from the man I love that he has worked his ass off for all his life just to gain ratings is horrific. This is our life. What don't you all get? If your intentions were to hurt us, embarrass us, make us feel alone, take all the happiness away, you have succeeded on so many levels. Just know that we will continue to grow and show the world what real love is. Ravens Nation, we love you. Okay, so that is her saying that on her Instagram.
Right. This morning.
People are going to freak out about that.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what the battered woman is supposed to say, is what we're going to hear.
Right.
She must be scared for her life is what we're going to hear.
Right.
But maybe he's working it out. Maybe they're in therapy. Maybe something's happening, right?
Right.
What do you think? When you hear that, when you hear what her statement was, that's Janae Rice, Ray Rice's wife, what do you think when you hear that?
I hope that he is in therapy, that he's done some anger management, maybe they're in therapy together, because that's a very tough thing to come back from, the person you love knocking you unconscious.
Right. Well, and she seems to be totally on his side. She's lashing out at us, lashing out at the media. Now, I
hope that they have been together and separately working on it and possibly going to therapy.
Do you think that we're going to be hearing, I'm sure, that he's behind this or the NFL is trying to spin this and has gotten to her?
Right.
I mean, because she apologized in June about being part of the incident and the black eye that was this on Ray Rice's career.
Right.
She came out and apologized, and everyone freaked out about that yesterday, too, because the Ravens had tweeted that she was sad to have been a part of it. Well, of course she was sad to have been a part of it, right? She got knocked out in an elevator. Nobody wants to be a part of that.
Right.
And they had left it on their Twitter page until yesterday.
Okay.
And then took it down. And people, because people are not, they don't read, they don't click. There were some people who thought that they had tweeted that yesterday.
Really?
Yes. And like, why would you tweet that and then cut him? And it's like, they tweeted that months ago.
All right.
So I don't know. I am a little worried for her now with this statement, because I think all of the anger that is on Ray Rice, some of it now is going to transfer to her. Because
do you think so?
I do. I don't think that we as the public can stand and let her say these nice things about him after we all saw what happened.
But we have no idea what is really going on.
Right.
None of us.
No.
And I think that we all have an opinion about things that happen,
right?
Like, i.e. domestic violence.
Well, I think we all agree that that is horrible and should not be tolerated at all.
Absolutely. And I think it's tough to not... Man, how am I supposed to say this without...
Just say it.
I think it's tough for, especially people who have been through it. It's tough not to see what your situation was and compare the two,
Right.
and think that she may be in the exact same situation that you were in.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I do. So you know what happened to you. You know
Right.
that you were afraid for your
Right.
life, so you would say anything to have his back. Because Wendy Reed, who I'm certain will have a comment on this
Right.
later today,
Right.
she blogged yesterday about how afraid she was for Janae Rice
Right.
because now Ray had lost everything and had no incentive to keep his hands off of her.
Right.
And probably would blame
Right.
her.
Right.
So is this a...
And I saw a lot of people commenting yesterday saying they were afraid of murder-suicide.
Yes. So
Him to her.
Is this a reaction to that? Some people will think that, oh, she's just trying to hedge her bets. She's saying, no, I got you. But really is still scared to death. We have no idea.
No, we have no idea.
So coming out with a statement like this just muddies the water even more.
Well,
right?
And do you know anybody who has been in an abusive situation and they, as a couple, whether it was man to woman or woman to man or man to man, woman to woman, whatever the case was,
Right.
they were able to come out of that and be a healthy couple afterwards?
Man, I don't think I know anyone who has done that.
Mm-hmm.
And had the abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I think I'm very removed from that. So
Okay.
I don't know. So that has not become apparent to me
Mm-hmm.
anywhere. So I don't know. I'm sure that does happen. And then you do work through it. People change, right? Maybe it was one time and, oh my gosh, I should not have done that. I think seeing it in the elevator is what really
Right.
ramped this all up. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, he
Well,
laid
and
her
he
out.
knocked her out.
Later, and he didn't even
Right.
move. He didn't even care.
No.
He just
He
stood there, waited
didn't-
for the elevator to finish,
Yes,
and
I
then
agree.
dragged her out. So that
agree.
made him look like the biggest
Right.
of the big.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Even though he already
Words
was,
you can't say on the radio.
he already was the big.
Right.
But now he looks like the biggest of them.
I mean, I don't know. I hope that is from her. I mean, I know it's from her, but from her
Right.
heart.
Right.
And that things.
But are we going to let her have this piece that she wants? Are we going to back off? Because you know that we can't. Right? There will be people who will need to remove her from Ray Rice. There will be
Yes.
people who need her to
Yes.
see the monster that he was that night and
Yes.
in their mind still is.
Mhm.
And it may still be, right? I mean, I'm not
Right.
saying that it was a mistake or an accident. He's an A-bag.
Right.
We all know that.
Right.
So do you think that they will allow her to have this and say, no, I'm fine?
No.
Or no. But here
No.
she is pleading for us
Right.
to stop making her life a nightmare.
Right.
So what does that do to the whole situation?
I think some people will feel like I do and hope and pray that. I hope everybody hopes that things are better for them now and that they're
Right.
working through it. However,
I mean,
do
are we
that.
allowed to believe her? Amanda, are we allowed to believe Janae Rice that this is over and this is a nightmare and we are the ones who have the problem?
Are you allowed? Everyone's allowed to believe her. I mean, some people are going to say what you're saying, your brain isn't functioning properly.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, to sit there and say, well, I'm not going to believe what she's saying, we should be afraid for her. Well, then I guess that's more for her family and her personal friends to maybe kind of step in and say, we really need to figure out what's going on here now that we've seen this, because who knows if they knew or not.
Well, we all
But
knew
us
that
is
he
like-
hit her in that
Right.
elevator.
We all knew that there was domestic violence going on.
Right. Everybody knew that
We
happened.
knew that.
Like, because he dragged a knocked out fiance out of an elevator.
Right.
And what we told ourselves is, the police didn't press charges. She didn't press charges. Maybe she was going Solange on him. And he, defended himself. And then we saw the video, and quite clearly he did not defend himself.
Right.
He knocked her out, one punch, and then stood there. That's the thing. So are we allowed to then say, okay, you want us to leave you alone? We're going to leave you alone.
I don't think she's going to be left alone.
No.
Right. But she's pleading.
Right.
This is our life. What don't you get?
Right.
If your intentions were to hurt us, embarrass us, make us feel alone, take all the happiness away.
It's like, are you
you've
allowed
succeeded.
to? I get what you're saying, because it's like, are you allowed to? But as society, we say, oh, we have to help people who are in these horrific situations,
Right.
and we don't believe that maybe they can make their own decision because they're too involved in it. And like you said, maybe that's fear or that's him talking
Right.
in that letter. But can we believe? I don't know.
I don't think. I think this made it.
Do you believe her?
I believe her. I do believe her.
Yeah.
And
I believe that she wants all of this to go away.
Right.
Okay.
I don't necessarily believe that she's not afraid or thinks that there's consequences coming in different ways. But I think she just wants all of this to go away, which I feel like anybody in that situation, whether previous or present, they just want it to go away. They don't want to be having themselves in that situation.
Right.
So you
And
don't
they
have
never
you don't have any feeling that he could be going to some anger management counseling, and they could have since February have been working on the relationship, and
Right. That could have been the one time, the albatross, the
Right.
one time that happened.
But I feel like even if it was just the one time and they are going through counseling and trying
Right.
to work it out, like as a person, wouldn't you still not wanted that to have happened in your life?
Right. Well, and she does say,
Yes.
this is from Janae Rice's Instagram page this morning, to make us relive a moment in our lives that we regret every day is a horrible
Yeah.
thing. So she is still hanging on to that bit of she regrets part of it too, which is what got the Ravens in trouble yesterday because they had
Right.
tweeted that out like in June. They had tweeted out that she said that. She went to them and said, I regret my part in this.
Right.
And then they tweeted it out. Janae Rice says she regrets her part in it, and it was a link to a story.
Right.
So she still is saying that.
Well, saying you regret something is not saying that you had anything to do with it.
Right.
I regret a lot of things that have happened in the world, but I didn't have anything to do with them.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, but I'm just saying that's what Amanda is saying. She wants it to end. She doesn't
Right.
necessarily want us to forgive Ray Rice.
Right, she
Or
just wants it to go away.
She's
Right.
not blowing the all clear here.
Right.
She's saying
Right.
what the way this was handled is ridiculous, and it's such a circus in my life now that I am a victim again. Thanks to the
Right.
public,
Right.
thanks to the media.
Right.
You have done this to me again.
I hope, and I'm sure there are people listening right now, if you have been in this situation and you're thinking about what has happened in your life, like, no way I could have never gotten over it. No way I
Right.
could have never gone through therapy. Some people just leave,
Yeah.
some people can't leave. I'm sure that right now they're going, no way. I do not believe her. She's afraid.
But would you make the statement then? I mean, what in your life allows you
know.
to make a statement like this, clearly telling us to knock it off?
yeah, telling the world, shut
yes,
up.
Yes, if you are. I mean, there's not even like anything you can read into that. Like, help me. There's no between the lines here. It's knock it off. This is our life. What don't you get? If your intentions were to hurt us, embarrass us, make us feel alone, take all the happiness away, you've succeeded on so many levels.
Right.
Just know, this is from Janae Rice, just know that we will continue to grow and show the world what real love is.
Where's Wendy right now? Is Wendy here?
Usually she is.
Wendy, if you're listening right now, you got to come down to the studio. I would like to hear what Wendy has to say. I mean, she's going to write a blog about it anyway.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
not? Why don't we hear what she has to say?
Find out what the deal is. Well,
You know?
let's go get her. We'll go get her.
Will you go find her, Amanda? See if we can grab her. I would like to hear what she has to say.
All right, 7708957. Connie and Curtis, who's this?
Hi. I know they're not saying my name, but I have input on this subject.
Okay,
Okay.
we're going to call you Susie, and you're live on the air right now. What did you want to say?
With the whole you getting, I don't know, in a bad situation in your relationship, a lot of people that are in that situation, myself included, try to turn your, I don't know, you just turn it away, You don't look at them that way, and you don't think that they're doing anything wrong, and you kind of talk yourself out of the fact that they might be doing something wrong because you feel attached to them.
Okay.
And a lot of people say that's a cop-out, like when you are that connected with someone, it's like they can't possibly see them that way, but in your mind you think about it differently. And she might be going through something like that where she thinks that it's perfectly fine, which is wrong. And I would say that if you've been through that and if she's going through that right now, she probably is still in that process where she thinks that everything is okay and it's going to be okay.
Okay, and that does make a lot of sense. Thinking like where you are so close to it and you think, no, and you blame yourself a little bit.
Right.
So that does make a lot of sense. But do you think that we should take her at her word here and let it go? Or do we need to keep it going, keep in her face?
Well, I think that anything that we say isn't really going to affect her, so I don't think that we're going to have much impact on her at all. But if it were one of my friends, then I would definitely keep at it because they need to know that that's not an okay situation. They need to get out because coming from that situation, like in hindsight, you can see how terrible it was, and it still affects me. I still have problems with it.
Right.
Like, it really does scar you, and I wouldn't want anybody that I knew or that I was close to go through that because it stays with you.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for calling.
Thanks for calling.
We did find Wendy. Wendy,
Hi,
if you
Wendy.
missed
Hi.
it, Janae Rice on her Instagram today had a statement, and it is, I woke up this morning feeling like I had a horrible nightmare, feeling like I'm mourning the death of my closest friend, but to have to accept the fact that it's the reality is a nightmare in itself. No one knows the pain that the media and unwanted options from the public have caused my family. To make us relive a moment in our lives that we regret every day is a horrible thing. To take something away from the man I love that he has worked his ass off for all his life to gain ratings is horrific. This is our life. What don't you all get? If your intentions were to hurt us, embarrass us, make us feel alone, take all happiness away, you've succeeded on so many levels. Just know that we will continue to grow and show the world what real love is. Ravens Nation, we love you. So we're wondering, like, do you
believe that, Wendy?
Not one single bit.
Okay.
You don't believe it at all?
So
No.
what do you?
Tell us why.
Where's that coming from her then?
I think it's kind of if you watch the video, to me as somebody outside watching it, the way that everything went down, there is no doubt in my mind that has happened more than that one time.
Okay.
Because I can't imagine any person cold cocking somebody like that without even thinking about it if they hadn't done it in the past.
Well, and just standing there. I mean, if he does it the
With
first
such
time,
indifference, right?
you go down to see if she's okay.
Seems like you freak out. Like, I can't believe I just did that.
Exactly.
And I think that, you know, this statement that she's making and the things that she's saying, and even originally when they had that press conference and she apologized for her role in the incident,
Right.
it's to keep the peace.
Okay. To
It's
keep her
Between
her
the
safe.
two of them?
Yes. Yep.
Between the two of them?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm convinced of it.
Okay.
So then what do we do then? If she is telling us get away, like what do people do? How do they
Don't
get
we have
in?
to get away?
You have to. And the thing is that if this is an ongoing thing and if it continues, one of two things will happen, unfortunately, or well, fortunately and unfortunately. Either it will escalate to the point where, you know, she's either hospitalized or dead,
Right.
or she will herself finally get to the point where she is ready to leave that situation.
Now, you've been very honest in your blogs about your past. Can we be honest right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Tell us how you understand what she's going through.
I was with a man for 4 years who was physically, emotionally, verbally abusive.
Okay.
Stayed in that relationship for 4 years because of a lot of these things. It's what you don't understand about these domestic abuse situations is that when it comes down to it, you still love that person.
Right.
And you do hope that, you know, that time was the last time, but it isn't. It never is.
Right.
Right.
You know, but so people are, you know, judging her for marrying him after the fact and all. And that's the thing is, she, you know, he did that and it was a terrible thing, but she loves him.
Right.
And she wants, you know, she probably very much believes everything that she said in that
Okay.
statement, even though it's kind of misguided.
Katie's on the phone. Katie, good morning.
Good morning. How are you
Hi.
guys doing?
We're good.
Katie.
What did you want to say?
Good. I wanted to say, you know, I've been through a similar situation. It wasn't physical, but it was emotional and verbal.
Okay.
I also have 2 children. I was in that relationship for about 7 years, and I just got to the point where I was finally able to take my kids and run as far as I could. And it's the best thing I have ever done for myself and my children. And I encourage anybody out there that's in a similar situation to try and get help and get out,
Absolutely.
because it's no way to live.
What do you think about this, though, now, like, in your relationship and in Wendy's, there was not a damning video. I mean, here, the whole world knows what he has done. We all watched it. Our mouths hit the floor when we saw him just punch her and then just stand there. His team had his back and then says, you're done. You're out. You're out of here. His coach last night in the press conference said, if they need anything, my wife and I are here to help. Do you think that they will be able to reach out? Or like you said, you just waited one day until you had the strength. Do we have to wait it out? Do we have to wait for her to figure this out on her own?
You know, you kind of do to an extent, but you also have to keep in mind that she's being manipulated to a great extent. She's completely emotionally overwhelmed by this man. And unfortunately, in those type of narcissistic relationships, it really just, you have no idea. you're completely lost until one day you wake up and you're like, wait a minute, what is going on in my life?
Now, Katie and Wendy, let me ask both of you this question. I want you both to answer. Isn't it possible, or is it not, is my question, it possible for somebody who is an abuser to change?
In my experience,
Okay.
I would say no.
Okay.
Sadly, I feel like it's just so deeply ingrained in most people
Mm-hmm.
that it's just, you can't wash it away. And at least in my case, my ex, I'm not sure he really knew.
Okay.
He just saw it as normal. And so I began to see it as normal. And he brainwashed me into thinking that being treated this way
Mm-hmm.
is the way people are treated. And it seems absurd to think that somebody could brainwash you into thinking that, but it really is when you love somebody and you feel like they're there for
Right.
you.
Well, it's not absurd, though. I mean, we do it to our kids. You can watch a group of people, and you can tell exactly how moms and dads deal with different situations by how the kids deal with them. And Katie and I, we had to really sit down once we had our third kid and realize, okay, apparently we are saying these words because we're hearing them then
Right.
when the kids are saying them.
Right.
And we need to figure this out so that they don't think that this is how you handle the situation. So
Right.
like you do get it, but it takes a lot of work. I mean, it takes a long time and you really have to want to do it.
Now, Wendy, let me ask you, can you do it? In your opinion, can somebody who is an abuser change?
No. I really, from my own experience, I really don't believe so, because I would say, well, like 98% of the time, if not 100% of the time, the person that is the abuser doesn't think that the fact that they're doing it is their fault.
Okay.
Right. Why'd you make me do this to you?
Exactly.
Right.
It's,
Katie, thanks for the
they
call.
don't think that there's
Yeah,
anything.
you're welcome.
They don't think that there's anything wrong with what they're doing, because they're just reacting to whatever it is that you did
Right.
or did not
this
do.
is what I do.
Yeah.
I lash out and you just happen to be here.
You know that you need to try harder to make that not happen.
The whole you wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Right.
Type
Exactly.
Mike's on the phone. Mike, tell us your story. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. Well, my wife and I, we have been in an abusive relationship. I was the abuser.
You were the abused one?
No,
you-
I abused her.
You did. Okay.
I have hit her
Okay.
a few times. We're currently in counseling. We do talk about it. I think that what's going on is I think that they have moved past it as a couple,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it's just something that they're trying to let go of.
Right.
And this kind of just brought it back and made it worse, and has escalated the situation. And I think Janae Rice just wants to move on.
Well, and that's very clear in her statement. She
Yeah.
says that to make us relive the moment in our lives that we regret every day is a horrible thing. And then she goes on to say, this is our life. If your intention were to hurt us, embarrass us, make us feel alone, take all the happiness away, you've succeeded on so many levels.
So, Mike, I have a few questions for you, Mike.
Sure.
When did you start abusing your wife?
It wasn't until we moved in with each other. We moved in with each other about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I grew up with an abusive father. I was hit by him quite a bit. I watched him hit my mom a lot.
Mhm.
I've always had an anger issue. I've always had problem with my anger.
Okay.
But it wasn't until we actually moved in with each other about 3 years ago where I got to a point where I just couldn't take certain things about her sometimes. Sometimes she would just get me so angry, frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're married. We have a kid.
What was the thing that made you say, I need to fix this? I love this person. I don't want to hurt her anymore. You said you're in counseling, right?
Yeah.
So what was the thing that made you say that?
it's really just it a lot of it has to do with my son. I don't want my son to be exposed to that. I don't like him seeing that in the household. In fact, just the other day, I got angry and threw a remote, and it ricocheted off the ground and hit him on the side of the head and gave him a pretty decent bruise. And it's just things like that where it's in the moment. I just see red,
Right.
and obviously there's no regret in the moment. But after I've calmed down, I've stepped away, that I'm just like, man, I got to get a grip.
Right. And I think that's what is really feeding into this statement from Janae, like the instant regret, because
Right.
no one wants to stay with someone who is mad all the time. And like Wendy said, you love this person so much. You love every good thing about them. And this is just one bad thing that hopefully will change. So that's the same thing. But he showed zero regret. He punched her and stood there and waited for the elevator to get to the lobby and then just dragged her out. Like he was not loving in that moment at all.
Now, Mike, what do you have to say? Wendy said she does not believe that an abuser can ever change. Do you agree with that?
To some extent, I've worked on my anger since I was a kid. I mean, when I was real little, I mean, because my folks actually got a divorce as a result of the abuse.
Okay.
My mother had an affair because she was unhappy. And so I was a really angry kid as a result of all these things. And over the years, it wasn't until I met my now wife where I had actually started to make personality adjustments myself. And, I can't say that I'm cured. I mean,
Well, right. You just threw a remote, bounced off a wall yesterday. I mean,
yeah.
So you
Right.
still
Well,
have the anger.
In terms of actually hitting my wife, the last time we had a situation like that was really, I mean, I've punched her in the thigh more recently, but in terms of an actual, real contact,
Like a face punch?
Well, no, the thigh counts as
Yeah.
real contact. Like that.
Like,
that's
when
not-
did you do that?
Yeah.
When did you do that?
that was early summer, so I'd say probably June.
Okay.
Okay. And then have you been to counseling since that, or was that while you were in counseling?
I wasn't in counseling at that time,
Okay.
but I had counseling just last night. Actually.
Okay. Yeah, because punching someone in the thigh is not the same as not
Still
punching
punching
someone.
someone.
Right.
Still punching
Hey, yeah, I
someone.
don't beat up my wife. I just punch her in the back where no one can see. No, that still counts as beating up your wife.
Are you amazed, Mike, that she's staying with you?
Not well. We have our reasons. I mean, it's not just for our son. I mean, we want to work on it. We want to have a healthy relationship. We want to have a healthy family. That's what we want, despite my own anger. And I believe it is something that we can work on. I have improved vastly over the years from what I used to be.
Okay.
And it's going to be a slow process, obviously, but in love, there has to be patience. There has to be acceptance, and there has to be, I'm going to give you this time, and not just immediately just say, well, screw this, you're an awful person.
Now, Wendy, what do you have to say to all of that?
We do have the delay ready.
We do.
No, I do have to say, Mike, that I actually commend you for putting forth the effort to try and curb these behaviors like that. You're attempting to end the cycle, which is something that a lot of men just don't do. And yeah, I mean, it's not a right away process. It won't be. It won't be. But it's.
Do you believe? You said earlier you don't believe anybody can change. If somebody's putting in the work.
If somebody's putting in the work
and wants to,
I think
maybe
that. I don't know that their thinking will ever change.
Right.
Their gut reaction will ever change. but their ability to control
Their actions.
Right.
can change.
Well, and with him, it's the I don't want my son to see me doing this. So that is just embarrassment. Like he's saying, I don't want people to see me doing this anymore. So that may click it in his.
And
in
you
his
saw
brain.
your father do it, and it's a cycle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You know, you got to break the cycle somewhere, or it's just going to keep going. And that in my experience, the man that I was with,
Mike, thanks for calling.
who abused me, grew up in an abusive household. His father was extremely abusive, and so that was just, it was just the behavior that he had learned.
Right.
But it's got to stop somewhere.
Right.
And I think that it can. It's going to take effort, and if the abuser doesn't believe that what they're doing is in any way wrong, or if they have any control over it, then it's never going to change.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you going to blog about this today?
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure you check back to Wendy's blog at mychannel95.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with this, because I don't think that anyone is going to heed her wishes. Janae Rice saying, leave us alone. You've made us feel alone. You've taken all of our happiness
You're continuing
away.
the worst day of our lives.
Exactly. And I don't think it's going to stop. I don't
think so either.
It's just going to feed and feed and feed.
He's not getting his job back, right?
No,
his
he's
job
done.
is done.
He's done. Yeah, so he's done, and then later today they're going to make it so it's okay to smoke weed in the NFL. So then all those people are going to be happy.
Are they?
Yeah, that's going to be fine. So then that group of people who were mad that it was worse to smoke weed than to hit a woman, they'll be off of it. They're fine. So they're gone after today. So the only people that we have now are the people who are so confused and conflicted by Janae's comments that she made on Instagram today. So it's definitely going to be an interesting day. I don't know if it's a sports day anymore. Now it is a beating women day. Now it's a being an a-hole day. It's not it's not a sports story anymore.
It doesn't have anything to do with football.
Nope. Now it is.
Zero
Now it is. The
to do with
victim is
football.
coming out and saying, "Hey, get off of our case. We're okay." And we're not ready to think that she is okay, because Wendy has said, no, it's not okay.
Yeah.
Mike just called and said, it's not okay. We all know from experiences that it's not okay. And we need to figure out how to, do you convince her, Wendy, that it's not okay? Or do we have to let her die?
The thing is that it's hard to convince somebody in that situation. Before I actually left my abuser, there was a time probably a year prior where a bunch of my friends came to town with a van and were like, we're going to pack your stuff up and you're going to move.
We're taking
Wow.
And I couldn't do it. I wasn't ready.
Right.
I just wasn't ready for it.
Right.
I had to be the one to make that decision. I had to be
How did they handle you when you said no?
They didn't really know how to handle it.
I don't think anybody can understand unless it's happened to you.
No,
I don't think anybody can understand.
You really can't, because you're so brainwashed, and you're just convinced that that's what your life is going to be.
Right.
All right,
I'm
well,
so glad that you got out, Wendell.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We love
we
you.
can't wait to read your take on it at mychannel957.com later today.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks, Mike, for calling. Thanks, everybody, for calling.